pure experiences.
Welcome to the Pure Experiences Podcasts.
Hello and welcome to Pure Experiences Online Satsang. These meetings are now being conducted every Sunday, 12 noon, and they are absolutely free. Everyone is most welcome to join the meetings via Skype. Just like everything else that I have to offer, this is also free of any cost. It is not a product. It is not a service. It is only that which I have received. I am just passing it along, and because I received it for free, it is totally free for everyone. So as usual, we are going to start with the questions that I keep getting from all of the followers and the users everywhere. And if you have anything to say or to ask, then most welcome. You can type in the question or you can speak the question. And if you are just listening, please keep your mic and camera muted off. This is not exactly about questions and answers, although the session is called Sunday Q&A. But if anybody has anything to say, comments, or they have learned something they want to share, so they can use this platform to talk to everyone. And there are many people who would listen to this recording once it goes online. So we will start with a very simple but difficult to grasp question that is often asked, that is asked very frequently, and that is, how is it that I call all kinds of experiences as experience of the mind? So we can take up this question as a warm-up exercise. The answer to this question, that why do great masters, the great scientists, or yogis and gyanis, people who are in this field, who are in the spiritual field, they regard all experiences as experience of the mind, except a few people who are totally ignorant, who have never ventured into experience in general. They would call the experiences as of different kinds. They would assign a separate reality to the separate kind of experience. This, you can see, is already a problem. You can actually question here why we do that. When I say we, means I'm now talking from the point of view of an ignorant person who has no training whatsoever, or who has never taken any kind of spiritual path, never asked any questions in their lives. If you are one of them who take all the kinds of experiences as having their own separate reality, then it is the right time to ask this question. How is it even possible that all the experiences can have separate realities of their own and still can be experienced? Now, a non-seeker, a person who is not on the path of knowledge, will say, oh, this is how it is. This is how the world works. This is how the reality works. So this points to a lack of interest and curiosity in that mind. If you are a seeker kind, you will question everything. You will question the most obvious. And obviously, the whole point of the Sunday Q&A is to question. I hardly say anything which you already don't know. We just question everything. So once you question your experience, you will find that they are actually of only one kind, and the most appropriate or the most suitable name for that kind of experience is the experience of the mind. That is the most suitable name. Now let us explore why this is so. Let us take a look at the experience, your own direct experience. Now, as I said, people are going to perceive immediately different kinds of experiences. and they will say, oh, there is this very dominant experience of sight. I can see objects, the physical objects, everybody can see them. That constitutes one kind of reality, isn't it? Then there is another kind of experience, the experience of sound, which you are having right now. You can listen to things. That is another kind of experience. That is, these two are the sensors that give us information regarding the far away things, the far away objects. And there are more which are uh, experienced when the objects are in direct contact with those sensors, like the touch, smell, and taste. So immediately a person will recognize five kinds of experiences. And for most people, that is all. That is all they can sense, nothing else. But if you take a deeper look at your experience, these experiences form a small part of the totality of the experience. There is this experience of the body right now, which many people will hesitate to call an object because they say it is me. How can you say it is an object? But look at the body, it is also being perceived via these five senses. The body is providing us with the five kinds of experiences. That is how we know the body. Most importantly, the body is also giving us internal experiences. If you have noticed, that there is an experience of heaviness of the body. I know there is a body. Even if I close all the senses, I'll still know that I am there. There's a heaviness. When the limbs move, when the body moves, the muscles move, we get a sensation. We know that it is moving without even seeing. And if you do it very, very slowly, then probably you will not notice it, because these internal senses have their limits. When you are hungry, you get the signal. When there is a pain, there is a signal there. The body is telling us, look, something is wrong inside the body, on the body, surface of the body. Similarly, when there is a pleasure, when you eat something which satisfies the needs of the ego, the thing that keeps it alive, then you can sense it. It is a pleasure. It is not only a taste. So when you get up in the morning after a good sleep, the body is full of bliss. It is full of pleasure because nicely rested. You will get many more sensations which are now on the borderline of mind and the body. For example, the tiredness or energetic body. What is that? Which sense is giving you these kind of sensations? And you can find the borderline sensations in the border, on the border between the body and the world also. Just like I said, pain is just the touch which is magnified 1,000 times. It is the same kind of sensor which is giving you a sensation of pain. But whenever there is an internal pain, it is kind of borderline between physical and bodily sensations. The body gives a smooth transition from the objective world to a subjective world. Very few people notice this, very few. Only those who study the body from a spiritual angle, from an occult angle, from the angle of knowledge, of reality. They are dismissing every kind of notions. They are dismissing all kinds of conditioning that has been stuffed into the mind by the society and education and heard from here and there, are just blind beliefs that were assumed. So this is the characteristic of a seeker. First clears the slate, then looks at the experience. So it is very interesting that the body is a borderline. It is a smooth progression from objective to subjective. And then, as we know, everybody knows, a major part of our life is subjective experiences. So-called mind, the experience of thought, emotions, feelings, and imagination, memories, so on. Your planning, your decision making, your rational ability, your arts, skills, and all these, they are language. These are all mental in nature, purely mental, purely subjective. And if you pay attention, you will also find awareness there. It is an experience. It is an experience that I know. I know all these things because that experience goes away sometimes. Actually, that is a complicated matter, but let's assume, let's just simplify the situation a little bit. So we can now start classifying our experience as the objective experiences, which are the experiences of the objects. They're shared with everybody else, mostly, not all, but most of them. And the second kind is the experience of the body, and third kind is the experience of the mind, the inner world, which is subjective, not shared. And the fourth kind is the awareness, which is not mind in motion. It is just consciousness looking at the experience. It is the awareness. It is a knowledge. It is a knowing that yes, I can see, I can hear, and this is awareness. So how come we have all these separate realities? And how is it possible to become aware of them if they are so separate? Where is the connection? Where is the connecting wires? Where is the Wi-Fi connection, the wireless connection between all these realities? If something is objective, how can it become subjective? If something is related to body, how can it become both objective and subjective? If it is just mind and does not really exist in any kind of reality, how is it possible to become aware of it? How is it even possible to know the mind? If it cannot be registered by any instrument, no instrument can register your thoughts. No instrument can measure your emotions. You see, nobody can come and say that, yes, I can see a mind here. Nobody can do that. What kind of reality is that? Have you ever questioned this? Have you ever wondered about this? The whole of the experience that we are having? And I've just given 4 kinds. For most people in their waking state, there is only one kind, and that is the experience of the world. And a major part of that experience is people. 90% of their experience is about people. He did that, he said that, and she does that, and so on. This is all their experience is most of the time. Deeply engaged in a very narrow band of experience. When they feel hungry, yes, there is a body also. Then they come to know. And where does their attention goes? Outside. Food. Somebody needs to feed me. People and objects. The nature of the waking state is that the attention is always outside. It is never towards any other kind of experience. And some people will pay attention to their minds and they will say, it is me. I'm angry, I'm fearful, I'm loving, I'm thinking, I'm imagining, and so on. So there is really only one kind of experience for most of the people. They do not know any other kind of experience, and the reason is lack of questioning. They do not question their experience. There can be more kinds, but let us stick to the 4 that I've given. So let us find out how is it even possible that all these kinds of realities, they can be known. We can become aware of them. How is it even possible? And the objects are most difficult because the senses are like a door and they are like a guard. It becomes really difficult to know what is behind the senses. You will notice that all that we are aware of is that which the senses are conveying. We do not know the objects. We know only that which the senses are telling. This can be known simply by turning off one of the senses, and you will see that you know nothing about the world, about the objects, if the sense is not there. So this is the first step to bring your attention to the senses. You can do it right now also. Look at any object. Let us start with the eyes. Look at any object and you will see that really what you are aware of is not the object itself. There is no way to become aware of the object. You are aware of that which the sense is telling you. Shift your attention to the sense of sight. Some people may want to shift their attention to the eyes. No, eyes are just a bodily sensation. You blink and you move your eyes, that is perceived. The sense of sight is in mind. It is a subjective issue. It is a subjective reality, a subjective matter. Look at the sense of the sight. You can do it right now. You don't need $1 million lab to experiment like this. To know your own experience, where else you will know it, if not here and now? So the sense is all that we are aware of, and it is totally mental. It is a subjective reality. You can name it anything. You can call it a perception also, which is more accurate. Anubhuti in Sanskrit. Sangya. These are the technical words. But just to keep it simple, because this discussion is targeted to those who never question their experience. Now you can shift to the sound, which is easy, relatively easy. You can close your eyes, shift to the sound, and it is so easy to see that the sound is that which is appearing in the mind. Bring your attention to the sense of the sound. Where are you hearing my words? Where are you hearing all the noises, the traffic noises, noises of the TV, people talking, whatever is around you, and my voice? Some people may want to bring their attention to the ear, which is okay. It's okay, because that is the doorway through which your attention will come to the sense of the sound. And you will see, because it is not very easy to locate any sounds, your attention can easily shift to the sense of the sound, and you will find that we do not really know any sounds out there. All we know is the sense of the sound, the sense of hearing, which is here and now, which is entirely subjective. Nobody knows what you are hearing. Nobody really knows. It cannot be shared. If you do not communicate, then nobody will know what you heard. Our instinct is to immediately externalize the sensation. Oh, it is coming from something out there. Somebody is speaking. It is outside somewhere. It is objective. Everybody is listening to that sound. And you will find this is not your direct experience. These are thoughts in the mind. These are assumptions of the mind. You can do that. You can come to the direct experience of the sense simply by shifting your attention to the sense. And the sense is not the sense organ. The sense is that place where the sound is being perceived, and very, very clear that it is all in the mind. It is in the mind. Now, as an exercise, I leave you with the experiments about smell, touch, and taste. They are even easier to internalize. These, especially the touch. Nobody knows what you're touching, how it feels. Nobody knows. Even if you're touching an object, you think everybody can see, nobody knows. It is entirely subjective. So we project the object outside. That's all we do. We touch the object, we project the object outside, somewhere outside. It is a made-up place. The word outside does not exist in our experience. Have you noticed this? It is mind-blowing, because you have spent whole of your life thinking that the world is outside. The objects are outside. The body is, don't know where the body is. It is in between. And the distinction between outside and inside is totally arbitrary, because it is not our experience. We can assume anything we want. If there were really an experience of inside and outside, then you would experience it as your direct experience, as your direct knowledge. But no, it's not there. You can assume anything you want. It is only an assumption, an idea, a concept that there is a reality called objective reality. No, it's not there. Similarly, it is very easy to internalize the sensations of the body. Some people have very exotic names for these bundle of perceptions. They can call it etheric body, pranmaya kosh. So it is your choice, whatever you want to call it. It is not a body. It is just a bundle of sensations. Your body is nothing but whatever the senses are telling you. That is also a bundle of sensation. So there is nothing here except sensations. You can internalize the bodily sensations very easily. You can make them mental, by which I mean that You know their reality as being a reality in the mind. This kind of language is very difficult, but let us not go into the extremely technical languages. This is a initiation into experience, so you need to keep it very simple. Later on you can take another step, study it deeply. And the third kind, which is the experience of the mind, is already in the mind. It's already totally subjective. Nobody knows what's in your mind. And the fourth experience, the awareness, is awareness of all these experiences. Sometimes we call it the experiencer, but it is also in the mind. Where else can the experience appear? So collectively, whatever is being experienced is now reduced to one kind. If you have any doubt, if you have any question, if you have this certainty, no, I'm now aware of a different kind of reality. For example, a dream or any of your occult experiments, and they have their own reality. You can say they have their own dimension. So you are most welcome to doubt your experience. You are most welcome to doubt your theories and put a question mark on them. Analyze. Always go back to the direct experience. Do not get tangled into the words. Oh, this is called such and such. This is called a dream, and therefore it must be a different reality. This is called NDE or past life experiences. So they must be having a different reality. These are only assumptions. The only reality there is this mental reality. It is happening in the mind. Some things are being shared with others, and that is the sharing also is in the mind. Now you can take the next step, you see. Now you can question that I am witnessing an objective world, but he is also witnessing the same objective world. It is clear from the descriptions, the match. That is perfectly fine. That is a good question actually, and is frequently asked. How come there is a shared reality? The answers will come later, because the mind is a shared reality. There is no individual mind. But right now, you see, you can say that no, they are simply communicating their mental experience, that here is the coffee mug, here are the glasses, there is the phone, there are the trees and birds, other people, I can see them, and they can describe their mental experience, and then you can decide whether to agree or not to agree. And this is therefore called consensus reality. Intersubjective agreement. That is a technical word for you. So think about it. It is not a reality. It is only an agreement between the mental realities. How is it even possible that I am communicating with you if there are separate realities of the mind and of the world? Is it possible? Where is the connection? Where is the wire? Where is the Wi-Fi? Where is the network that is allowing that? You will never find it. That is not your direct experience. Yes, you can dream up, you can cook up some theories, which people do most of the time because it's so difficult for them to jump into the mind. For some reason, it is mostly their conditioning. Their minds are hammered into this objective conditioning. Now they have become so solid and so stone-like that cannot jump into the mind. They are locked out, you can say. They have lost the keys of their own mind. So if you are like this, you find it very, very difficult to internalize your experience, which is like, click of a fingers for any meditator, any spiritual seeker. It happens in a second for a trained mind. If you are like very hard-minded about this, then there are certain practices. There are few practices that will help you to internalize the experience, and it does not mean that there is an experience of outside world or the inside of the body that is also outside you, but you can call it like this. These are just ideas, assumptions, blind beliefs. So you can start from the beliefs because that's all you have and try to see their reality. There are exercises specially designed for such people who cannot internalize the experience. And I'm sorry, I was saying that it does not mean that there is an experience outside and then you will need to artificially push it inside by some trick, by some hook or crook. by deluding yourself. No, 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 it is internal. No, that's not what it means. This exercise that we are doing, it means to see that your beliefs about the world were wrong. This is what the exercise does. This is what this experiment is all about. When you pay attention to the senses and you see your direct experience as happening in the mind, what does that do? It destroys your belief that the experience is outside, that the objects are outside. It does not push the experience that is outside into inside somewhere. Do not delude yourself. If the reality remains outside, no matter what you do, then it is outside then. That is your experience. Your experience is your knowledge. So those who can take this first step, the baby step, this is actually start of the whole of the spirituality. If you see, the negation of objective experience is first step into the domain of spirituality. It is not a small thing. If you have done this, you have taken a big step actually. This is not a small thing to do, achieve. When it shines as your direct experience, you will be filled with a sense of wonder. You will see that you always knew this is the case. You just got lost into the conditioning, blind beliefs of all kinds. So there is only one kind of experience. This is the answer. The answer is your own experience. There is a need to throw the experience outside, and you must have guessed, the need is survival. If I do not externalize my internal experiences, it will become very difficult to survive. I am knowingly omitting the words surviving in the world. No, there is no survival in the world. There is survival in the mind only. It is the mind that is trying to survive. Body is a way of the mind to isolate itself from other minds so that it can grow by itself without getting influenced by other minds, which are like, tsunami of activities. Nothing can grow there. So isolation is needed. If you must have noticed that when you plant a sapling, a seed, you plant it in a pot, in a mud pot. You isolate it from the sunlight, the rain, and animals and children and everything that can destroy that. Once it grows a little bit, you see, once you're confident that it can now survive in your garden, then you take it out from the pot and you plant it there. Hopefully, if the influences are not too much, it will grow even more. So the human mind is a baby mind. It is in the flower pot of the body. You will never hear these words from anywhere. Actually, these are coming from the direct experience. These things are not to be found in the books. The books are very short and concise. They will simply tell you there is no world. World is an illusion. And the chapter ends there. These are the direct experiences as guided by my own teachers, my own gurus. I am simply passing it on. You sit with the guru. The guru will hold your hand, bring your attention to the senses, bring your attention to the mind, will make you look. The guru can only point. You will have to look like this, the way we are doing. The human mind is a tiny seed, a sapling. It must be isolated from the whole of the mind. We have a word for the whole of the mind, which if you are a regular listener, if you attend our satsangs regularly, you know that word. I simply call it the universal mind. Actually, that is all there is. Individual mind is not there. So that's why I said this is the second step. You will need to recognize that there is no individual. Therefore, there cannot be an individual mind. There is an appearance that this has been isolated, and the reason is very, very clear. Survival. Not survival of the organism, not of the body, not of the mechanisms of the body. As you know very well, the body does not survive. The body starts dying as soon as it is born. It is like a wave. It rises and falls. It is a temporary arrangement of the mind in order to isolate itself. So this is not the only body that it has taken. This is a very, very advanced structure. Human body is amazing. It is the most advanced structure that you know of. It is so advanced that actually we do not really know what this is. It is so complicated. It is a shield from the universal mind. Why is it like this? survival, not of the body. The body dies. It is dying right now. It is changing right now. It is a temporary fence around the mind. Senses are gates in this fence which allow a tiny experience to come through of the world. No, I'm joking. Of the universal mind. All there is the universal mind. There is a question sometimes that is asked is, yes, the objective experience happens in the mind and therefore it is not the objective, but it is experience of something. I am experiencing something. What am I experiencing if not a solid world? I was like this. I have asked these questions for many years, not getting any satisfactory answers until I was introduced to the idea of the universal mind. And at that stage, it is only an idea. It is so difficult to say that, look, whatever you are experiencing is the universal mind, isn't it? Who will believe me if I said that I am experiencing a mind only? I am not experiencing a world. No rational and intelligent person is going to believe me. And I also was in total disbelief. It's not possible. It's not possible. Till, one of the gurus, one of the highly wise person who happens to be a scientist from the science, as we know it, the physics tradition. And he said that whatever the instruments measure is not matter. The instruments measure only change in a field. And the physicists, they are very fond of names. They would make up a name for that field. And when that's not fun for them, so they will abbreviate it in 3-letter words. Nobody knows what is the meaning of that. So I'm not going to bother you with all those words. They're temporary, you see. So the change is being registered by the instruments and the senses on the body, because body is an object from the physical point of view. It is an object, and the senses on the body are just instruments. You see, your retina is just like the CCD of the camera. There are tiny sensors on the retina. And your ears are like microphone. There is an eardrum that vibrates, isn't it? It is an instrument. Your skin is like a strain gauge, pressure gauge. It registers pressures. Your nose is a chemical detector. The chemicals are in the air, you see. In Mother Nature, nothing has boundary, really. The apple that we eat extends into the nose. It has no boundary. It is kind of amazing if you think like this, see the world from a new perspective, like Richard Feynman always said, look at things from a new, fresh eyes. The food we eat, it does not have a boundary. It extends into the nose, it extends into the atmosphere. That is why the flies, even if they are 1 kilometer away, the fly can come and land on your food. So it is amazing. These are instruments. These are instruments in the body. What are they registering? Just like any other instrument, they are registering a change of some kind. The change has a pattern in it, and the brain recognizes that pattern. That's all is there in the name of physical world. Isn't it mind-blowing? That's all there exists. Changes, patterns of changes. Now, out of this, your instrument can create a world, isn't it? If I plot this voice, that is the microphone is picking up, I can plot it as a waveform. Actually, some people who are in the recording industry, they can tell simply by looking at the waveform. They can tell whether it is music, whether it is spoken words, whether it is noise or anything else. You see, so that image of the waveform becomes an object, which means that our body and brain are doing something similar. They are picking up the signals, turning them into objects. That reminds me of the scene in the movie Matrix where the people, they could look at the code and they could tell whether it is a building, whether it is a car, whether it is a person. All these are our signals. The mind can be trained to interpret any change as an object. It is amazing. It is amazing. This is your own direct experience. People who are blind, they are often taught a technique. I'm just, drifting because this is satsang. I'm not giving you a designed lecture. So let us drift a little bit. It is amazing to talk about these things because nobody will talk about such things. They are most important things in your life. All that you get is the garbage that comes out of your TV or newspaper. These important discussions are never held in your society. You are actually discouraged from questioning. So, and the blind people, they are often taught a technique. They hit their sticks around, they tap their stick on the road or wherever they are, and they can hear the echo of the tap. Then they come to know whether they are in an open space or whether they are in a room, and this objectifies the echo for them. They can actually perceive the room. There are videos, if you're interested, how can the simple change be converted into a full blown world. It is possible. It is possible. Let us see. For a snake, there are only two kinds of changes that it is capable of. One is vibrations of the ground, because whole of its body lies on the ground. It has developed this sense of picking the vibrations out of the ground. And second is very, very sharp sense of smell. Out of these two changes, it creates world, and you won't believe me, or you won't believe anybody, that world is as complex and amazing as the world that we perceive. And it is the same for everything, every organism. An ant, a honeybee, or a dog, or a monkey, everybody perceives a world which is very, very rich. A bat, for example, has a very detailed view of the world which even we don't have. So this is something amazing. An octopus in the sea knows more about the sea than even the most knowledgeable scientist who dives in the sea. So you see, it is possible to create the whole world simply by changes. So we have a question here from Anil. But Anil, give me 5 minutes. I'll just finish this off. The question of mental objects. Everything is a mental object. And after hearing that, reading that book by some great scientist, I don't recall actually who was that, but possibly one of the great people who lived between 1880 to 1940. That was the era when the physics took leaps of enormous magnitude. Now we don't see that. It's gone now. Now the whole effort is to push back the genie that came out of the bottle. That is the whole effort that I see in physics. It is funny. It's not possible to do that now. So this is the second step that you are going to take when you say that I am witnessing a field of changes. That's all there is. I am aware of a field of changes objectified by mental activity through the instruments of the senses. This is a big sentence, isn't it? Think about it. In 2 steps, you have destroyed the world. You have destroyed all your ignorance about the objectivity. The only experience that we have is the experience of the mind. It is not an individual mind. It is a temporary arrangement. Right now, we are kind of baby minds, so we are isolating ourselves because of this torrent of activity that is going on. The universal mind needs to grow a little bit before it steps into the wild world of the universal mind. We are experiencing the universal mind right now through the gates of the senses. If you do not take these steps, the sapling is not going to grow, the branches are not going to shoot out. This is important for your evolution. This is important for your mental evolution. That is the only evolution that is happening. Bodies don't evolve. You see, bodies, they are temporary arrangements of the minds that are created in accordance with whatever environment is presented to them. If the environment becomes a desert, well, the bodies take the form of a creature that is suitable for the desert. If the environment becomes a rainforest, well, something appears that is suitable for the rainforest. When the environment is stable enough for a long time, intelligent creatures emerge because the higher minds, they want to go there, take on a body. So that is the third step, you see. That is, you are now venturing into the mystery of the universal mind. What is this big thing which appears as objects? And you see, the world is also not a small thing, which means our minds, the human minds, have already evolved to a very high degree. Sometimes I say that we are gods, but we have degenerated into humans. That is, it is kind of very brutal way of talking about humanity. But you see, because we are capable of witnessing such a big variety of experiences, and we have this thing called intelligence and a very nicely functioning mind, very complex, complicated mind, you can say that we have already evolved to a great extent. And somehow we keep coming here because of ignorance, because of the tiny bit of ignorance that is left over, that I am a human, I need to be in the world. And then boom, there is a body again. We shut down the doors of the universal mind, come back into our familiar prison of the body, incarnation. As long as the environment permits the human form, we will keep doing that. So if there is no individual, you can very well guess, and the guess is called logical inference in the technical philosophical language. You can infer logically that and there will be humans as long as the environment supports this kind of form. So that is the third step, and we'll stop here. There are more steps, but we'll stop here. You're already into the universal mind. So this is how we progress, by destruction of the beliefs. And in order to destroy the beliefs, you must question. Do not take whatever you are told as truth. That is stupidity. Now, Anil has a comment and a question. So Anil's question is, what are your thoughts about Pitralok? What's the connection of universal mind with ancestors, instruments or bodies which doesn't exist anymore? We all share a genetic connection with our ancestors. Our body, the current instruments, would not exist without our ancestors. Do we share some sort of genetic group mind with our ancestors? It's very interesting questions. Actually, you are your ancestors right now. It is, it is not even a sharing. It is being. You are the ancestors. Now it is kind of deep, so let's go one or two steps. I'm not going to go totally into this matter, although it is very interesting. So when you ask this question, what actually reincarnates? What actually incarnates? Let's drop the reword from their prefix. What actually incarnates? And that is something very, very odd and funny. It is a bundle of memories. It is a bundle of impressions, you can say, a collection of experiences. That is all memory is. And it has a name. We call it the Jeev. What is the Jeev? It is an accumulation of all the experiences of all the lives as forms, as illusory forms, which you know as bodies. It can be human form, it can be any form, depending on whatever environment was there, you see. It can be not even this world, it can be some other area in the universal mind, not only this one, which is very familiar to us, but 99.9% it is this one only, because the mind has a tendency to go there which is familiar. This is like a law, and I call it the attractor from the chaos theory. It comes from that, the complexity theory, attractors. So it gets attracted, sucked in into something which it already knows, about which it already has impressions. This is like a very mechanical law. It is not a choice. Sometimes I say, I chose to incarnate into the earth, the world, whatever this is called, and that is totally false. There is no choice. So this Jeev, it is accumulation of all the impressions, and now you can infer that whatever appeared as my father, grandfather, or any ancestors is already accumulated there. Whatever experiences were there, they have already accumulated there. So Jeev is a very big thing. You cannot even imagine how big it is. If you say I am the Jeev, then you are very, very big. You are huge. You're not this one who has a name and who has a degree from some college and who has a wife, child, or you see, works here and works there and is going to die one day. No, this is a very temporary probe into the world, you can say. temporary creation. So the Jeev is very huge, and the place where these things live, they are called the loks, locations. You see, locations in the universal mind. In Sanskrit, simply lok. So what is Pitrulok? It is an area of the universal mind where all these experiences are stored up. You can now suspect that this is nothing but the Jeev. But however, the Jeev is so big, so complicated, that a good way to manage this huge dinosaur is to break it up into small parts. And these are the incarnations, these are the organisms, these are the individuated parts of the Jeev. So I am one of the part. But there are many in this pool of memories, and some of them are in charge of the memories. You can cook up a language now. Some of them they control the memories of the past incarnations, and these are your own ancestors. So I am that already. For the time being, I have individuated myself to get a specific kind of experience. Probably it is useful for growth, useful for survival, or there is a reason. Nothing happens in the mind without a reason. That reason has a technical name. We call it the karma or the sanskar. But let's not go there. So it is a karmic manifestation of things that are in the Jeev. Ancestors is a part of this group mind. So how come everybody has a different pitra? How come everybody has a different ancestor? And you will immediately notice that there is only one father. There is only one thing which is the primordial ancestor of every kind of mind, every individual mind, however big or small, and that is the universal mind itself. He is the only father. So everything is then individuated or delineated out of this big mega structure, almost infinite structure, and the lineages are formed. So I come from a lineage probably which goes a few thousand years, and all those experiences are stored up in that tiny area of the universal mind, and that is my ancestry. That is the impressions of my ancestors. You see, when you say genetic connection, the genetic connection is only manifestation of the kind of bodies that the ancestors took or they evolved into, and therefore my own genetic lineage will resemble their lineage. What takes form in the womb is a mind. So the information about that form is derived from the ancestor memory, also known as DNA. You see, it is kind of very deep now. So this tiny molecule is a structure that will define the form of the body. It is from where do I take this information? From an ancestor, from the father or the mother. And this is not that easy now. It is kind of complicated because the genetic memory is a mixture. It is not pure genes. It is a mixture of two memories. Yes, DNA is very kind of amusing structure. It is a structure in the universal mind. It is not a physical structure. The physical form is that which can be perceived by an instrument, objectification of this mental structure. So yes, there are millions of these DNAs, and depending on whatever environment is being presented, a specific DNA will manifest. Sometimes it will go back to the very, very primitive forms, unicellular kind of thing. So virus, what is the DNA of virus? Just a ring of molecules. It is very, very simple. And then it, again starts building up. So the memory is already there. It simply manifests according to the environments. That brings us into a very complicated topic, that is the topic of evolution. But all that is present, all that is seen as evolution is already present in the universal mind, some or the other kind of memory. It simply appears here as the world, as the creatures, as the organisms, as the minds. You see, there is no difference. It is not that the matter evolved into creatures. It is not like this. There is no matter, there are no creatures, just mental structures that manifest according to the need. You can, spend your whole lifetime studying how this happens. So the genetic connection with our ancestors is actually my own body, the bigger body, the Jeev body. That is, the connection is being the Jeev. There is nothing specific about it. Probably I don't have the words to express it right now, because normally I don't talk about this. Because it's not my experience, it's not your experience also. So it becomes kind of confusing if I say too much about these things. Yes, it would not exist without the ancestors. The ancestors are just a pool of memories. Obviously, it won't exist. And there is something very amazing which was in this culture, that we actually worshipped this structure which we call as Pitra or ancestors. And these structures in the group mind, or you can say the Jeev mind, or the bigger part of me, they can actually come down and help the individual mind in carrying out the day-to-day life. They have an interest because they were individuals when once upon a time. Nothing in the universal mind is ever destroyed. You must have noticed this thing. It is not destroyed. Some simply does not manifest, goes into a latent state. It is yes. I remembered the name. It is the Karan Sharir, the causal body. The Karan Sharir is also the Jeev. So things that become latent, they are called Karan, because they are the cause of these bodies. They are the cause of these experiences. So the Karan Sharir is the latent impressions, and sometimes they will manifest through magic in order to help the individuated mind do something. You see, if you are in a deep trouble, this incarnation is not going well, then some help can come from above. And the ancient people, we call them as stupid and primitive hunters. You see, it is our own stupidity that we cannot recognize what they knew. They had this connection to the memory because their attention was not totally into the world. They were not that degraded that time. We are totally now degenerated generation. Our attention is totally worldly. So if you push your attention back into the mind, you will get connection to the Karan Sharir, to the ancestors. And believe me, there is not only ancestors, there is more. It's kind of infinite. There are many, many levels. So Pitrulok is a level which is immediately above the Mrityulok, or the world, the physical world. Just one step up, and it is possible to contact anything in that world simply through the power of intention and pushing your attention into that part of the mind, which I know is an ability, is a power, is a siddhi, which not many people have. Those who can contact their ancestors like this, establish a contact with the memory, latent memory. They have huge respect for that kind of structure, and you can guess why this is, because it is very, very useful in survival here. It can give you extraordinary information, extraordinary powers to do something which the ordinary people, ignorant people, do not have. And so they worshipped their ancestors. And there will be a particular form of that ancestor that will be responsible. It will be like an interface that will be responsible for the entire lineage, to help that lineage. And that is what is called as Kul Devta. It's not C-O-O-L, Kul. It is K-U-L, Kul Devta. Devta means the bright one. You see, everything is Devta in India. And Kul means the lineage or the family, ancestry. So everybody here had a Kul Devta, and they were connected to that. And the Kul Devta actually manifested physically sometimes through another mind. We say that the Devta has come into the body, possessed a body, and they would transmit their message and disappear. So the tribals, they were not stupid. The ancient people were not primitive. They were more advanced in this dimension of the mind. You can do this, you can gain back your lost power simply by getting in touch with your Kul Devta, about which I've spoken in a lot of detail in the Desire Fulfillment series, both in Hindi and English. So you can refer to that. So Anil is saying Pitraloka is a huge structure of impressions and memory associations shared by ancestors. Yes. It is all related. Nothing is destroyed in the universal mind. It's all there. So ancestors are nothing but my bigger form. That's all. I am smaller form of my ancestors. The biggest of them is the universal mind. So Anil is saying, why is it a belief that if Jeev has not completely realized own nature, it will merge with ancestors in Pitralok because the impressions are still in, it's realizes his own nature. It will merge with ancestors in Pitralok because the impressions are still intact. Attachment to the mind still exists. Oh, yes. Liberation is not liberation from this form, this body, or this individual. There is no individual to be liberated, and the body cannot be liberated. It is kind of illusory form, illusory structure, pattern of changes. That's all it is. So, cannot be liberated. The individual mind does not exist, cannot be liberated. So, you can think of the group mind as being trapped in this cycles of incarnation, which is also called reincarnation or rebirth, controversial topic. So what is it that is taking birth? Is this Jeev, this group mind, and why is it doing that? Why does it need to bring the seeds back into the flower pot? You see, let's go back to the sapling metaphor. Why does it always need to put the saplings in the pots? Why is it not evolving? There must be something. There must be some ignorance. There must be some obstacle there. And if one individual realizes, oh, look, this is the truth. If one individual, one incarnation from that group mind realizes the truth, which is, a spiritual truth, that there is no individual and this is all universal mind, and my nature is pure emptiness, witness, consciousness, this light which knows these illusory forms, so on. You see, you very well know how the realization happens of our true nature. Then when this individual dies and merges into the group mind, this knowledge becomes knowledge of the group mind. You see, there are no boundaries there. So the whole of the Pitra, the whole of the ancestors, they get liberated. This is the logical explanation behind this saying that if you are liberated, you will liberate all of your ancestors. Didn't they tell you? Very wise people, very old people, even the villagers, they know this. Those who have not lost contact with their tradition and ancient knowledge, they will tell you. You need to realize one thing, and then all of your ancestors, they will be liberated. It is because there is no difference between you and the ancestors. You are just a tiny manifestation of the whole group mind. The group mind, what it is trying to do, it is trying to liberate itself, isn't it? It is evolving, it is going towards liberation, and the individuals are its strategy to achieve the liberation. Those Jeev, those group minds, the huge minds who have evolved a little bit, they know where to take birth, they know where to send their probe. You see, it's like a probe. This body is like a probe. It is probing around. It is trying to gather more and more experience, knowledge. And a big event happens in the life of this group mind is meeting with the master, meeting with a guru. That is probably the biggest event in the whole universal mind, actually. What can be bigger than that? When you realize your true nature, that is the biggest event. And it looks so tiny, isn't it? And meeting your master is the only possibility. The Jeev cannot realize anything. It is just bundle of memories. What can it realize? It is just impressions. It is just karmic structures. It cannot realize anything. Always comes from another mind, which is more evolved. That is what we call as a guru. The guru is not somebody who has opened a shop and charges you 2,000 rupees for self-realization. They are stupid businessmen. They are also Jeevs. They are also ignorant. Guru is one who takes you to the light, who shows you the light, does not charge even 1 rupee. Sometimes the guru is from your own ancestry, who has realized somehow fallen. The whole mind has fallen back into ignorance. So something activates there, and a form is sent back here, and that form will appear as a guru for the whole lineage. So not only we have parental biological lineages, we have the lineages of the gurus also, which are a bigger connection in the universal mind compared to this biological connection. You call your father, mother as yours. Well, they are illusory forms. How can they be yours? They are you. You can say, I am my father and mother. And father and mother can say that my child is me, which is technically correct. It is more true. But there is a bigger connection in the universal mind. That is the connection between a guru and a student, a spiritual guru and a spiritual seeker. That is the biggest connection. That is the biggest ancestry. That is the biggest, greatest lineage. So it actually makes all the sense in the world, isn't it? This is how it happens. This is how the universal mind works. How are we so ignorant about these things? Because we listen to the society. We assume whatever idiotic teachings that are being transferred to us as true. And we remain the idiot. We are doing a great disservice to our ancestors. We worship them outside, outwardly. Bring some incense, bring some flowers, cook some good food. There is Pitru Puja. That is the tradition which blindly people are following. I've seen that. It is a tremendous amount of disservice. You are supposed to be an instrument of liberation. What are you doing for that? Watching TV all day, collecting stuff from Amazon.com, playing games of lies and deceit, killing each other, using each other. So that is why the ancestors are not happy with you and they have disconnected. They do not help you now because miserably failed. That individual has failed. It's a waste of carbon. It's going to become carbon dioxide. That's all. You see, that is the only achievement of a human life. If you do not progress your own Jeev, your own group mind, then it's a waste. If you achieve a little bit, tiny bit of knowledge, then that will be contribution to the group mind. That will be contribution to the whole. That will appear as knowledge in the next incarnation. Remember, you do not reincarnate. You as a body mind, as an individual, is a temporary happening, a one-time affair. The whole reincarnates as person. And whatever experiences are collected, they are stored there. So if the experiences that are being collected are of robbing people, killing people, hating people, your whole Jeev will become corrupt. It will degrade. It will degenerate into something. And believe me, the universal mind doesn't like this. It will be recycled back. They will be recycled back to simpler forms, probably bacteria, viruses, or something like this. The degeneration is detected by higher forms. The Jeev is not the highest. There is a whole hierarchy there. And it is not there that somebody is sitting there and looking at the registers, who did what, and the good karmas, the bad karmas. No. The mechanism itself is like this. It takes care of itself. It is a survival machine. The universal mind is, the biggest, greatest survival machine there is. It does not like even a tiny cell of itself to degrade. It is thrown out. It is recycled. So that day we were talking about the progressive recycling. That's why we say that universal mind, the Ishwar, is very kind. It does not simply kill the Jeev. It, brings it a step back and checks, whether it is progressing now? No. Okay, one more step back. So what it can do is, what the system can do is, you see, it can even throw that Jeev into another area in the universal mind, which is kind of more productive for it. There are some people who do not understand words. They need a good beating up, you see. They understand only that language of pain and pleasure. They gravitate to that, you see. There is an attractor for them. And these worlds are also called as the hellish worlds or the narak worlds. Narks. There are many. There's not only one. There are many. Depending on the tendencies of that Jeev, he gets attracted or falls, gravitates to that kind of world. And if you are in the physical world, it's a big achievement. It's a great achievement because it is just a borderline between the nark, between the hell and heaven. It is in between. So we are actually coming out of the ignorance. It is the only place where spiritual knowledge is available. This place is heavily guarded by all kinds of evolved minds, and sometimes goes down like this time. This is the time when the knowledge is very, very low. Darkness is everywhere. 99.999% of humanity and creatures, they are under the spell of darkness. It is almost a hell, almost a hell. So even the poor people, they are suffering. The rich people are suffering. The unhealthy people are suffering. The healthy people are suffering. Mental diseases. The body is not the only thing that needs to be healthy. The kind of consumption they have, mental consumption, the mental food, is disgusting, and creatures are suffering. Environmental degradation. Everything here is suffering, actually, isn't it? A spiritual seeker is also suffering. Have you seen? That is his suffering is, I am ignorant. I don't have the knowledge. Runs from pillar to post to get the knowledge. Does not look inside. Knowledge is here. That is his suffering. So almost darkness. But you see, we also have gurus. We have great people. We have great minds. We have light in this darkness. Just orient towards the light. Look to the light, not to the darkness, and you will be out of here. Either this environment will change into some heavenly place, which it was once upon a time, or your Jeev will have a total, will develop a total distaste, detachment for this place, the physical world, and will be able to attach to something higher, something better, where there is less suffering. This is how it evolves. This is how it goes. And if one does it, the whole does it. It drags the whole along itself, a whole along with it by itself. So your whole ancestors are corrupt. Your whole family is just, bunch of degraded monkeys. At least you take the initiative. At least you look for knowledge. At least you start seeking. The first step in seeking is rejecting what your families, what your ancestors, what your society. Society is nothing but a bigger ancestor. Your race is your ancestor. So whatever they are, they're fed. If they have degraded, your duty, the first smart thing in your life you can do is reject it. So wipe out the slate totally. It's garbage. Throw away the garbage and question again. A question will bring you to a guru. The guru will bring you to the light. Guru takes you to the light from darkness. Don't join the institute. Don't join this religious organization. Don't join the political party. Don't all stupidity. Join an enlightened person. Buddha is enlightened person. You see, Buddha is one who is about the mind, about the tendencies of the mind. So that's why the Mahamantra is Buddha Sharanam Gacchami. Surrender to a Buddha. Take shelter under the wings of an enlightened person. We are here to do nothing else, believe me, nothing else. That is the whole mission, that is the whole project we are born for. If you don't do this, it's waste. You will take a few more incarnations, then you will be recycled back. That is 100% certain. Even though you will never be able to experience that. The Jeev is very innocent. It is ignorant thing, just mind, you see. What can it experience? Very, very little. So when this recycling happens, it does not know. Right now you don't know the reason for your misery. Right now you don't know why. What are you looking for? You get up every morning lost, run after things which others are telling you. Your will is non-existent. It is being forced by others. Your life is being forced by others. That's why a tantric or a magician, first thing he does is liberates from himself from others, the will of the others. Make your own will the strongest in the world, strongest possible. Why am I here? What is the purpose of my birth? Who am I? Start asking. Otherwise, it's not a happy journey, you see. It is journey back home. You want to make it quick and smooth, beautiful. So I hope this will clear up the big questions. I can give you the details of this lok, that lok, how the incarnation happens, how which we have discussed so many times now. You see, all the diagrams and animations that I made, they're all there for you to see, view, and listen. If you are interested in the details, I'm interested. I keep researching. You see, I do not stop. I never stopped seeking. That is the fun thing to do. So if you are interested, we can discuss that. But let me tell you one thing from the get go, that I won't be able to give you any experience of the universal mind. The experience comes through your own effort. I can give you the experience of the truth, which we just did in the beginning when we destroyed the world, when we destroyed the different realities, found only one reality. That was your experience, isn't it? If you are this Jeev, that Jeev in this reincarnation, that reincarnation in this world, or that Narak or that Swarg, you are going to have the same realization. It's the same mind. It does the same objectification. There's a tiny details are different. You see, if you are interested, that can also be experienced. You can experience all your ancestor memory right now, sitting in meditation. You can actually go into your own mind through the astral journeys. You can take the shamanic journey into many worlds. That is actually a very good example where the shaman will be, your ancestor will connect you back to the greater mind. So you can do all this, adventures, highly recommended. Do not just sit because I know everything. Now you should get a taste of the details also. But I cannot give you those experiences. That will come from your own effort, because I am doing the effort, so I know these things. They come through the effort. The fundamental knowledge, the knowledge that is required for the liberation of the individual and of the whole group and of the whole universal mind, that I can give you right now. The big things can be given. The small things you will need to do an effort, because they lie in the domain of untruth. They lie in the domain of Maya, where it appears through effort. So who knows what can appear? It's a big adventure. But the first thing to do is liberate yourself, that you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. The another thing to do is liberate others. You have this knowledge. Now it is kind of our duty. You see, because everything is me, all the individuals, they are striving. They are so deep into the darkness that they do not know why they were born. You see, it's kind of amazing. So it is the duty of the other individual to enlighten them, to spread the light of knowledge. You see, I'm doing it already. And anybody who has not done this but is liberated himself, has liberated whole of the group mind, but is not doing this kind of spiritual work, again wasting their incarnation. So some will become so advanced that they won't leave this place, the physical world, the Mrityulok, till they have done enough to keep the knowledge here. They are protectors of the knowledge. They are the guardians of the spiritual knowledge. So we are very, very grateful to those minds, those ancestors who have done their duties, who have done the right thing, their dharma, to protect the knowledge, to keep it here, to bring it to everyone who is ignorant, who is in darkness, without asking anything in return. Remember, those who are asking something from you are ignorant themselves. What are they asking? If they don't know that they are everything, they will ask something. They will ask you to serve. They will ask you to pay. They will ask you to join their cult. They will ask you to kill the other person in the other cult. So do not make that mistake. That is not the right path. The one who is giving is only giving, not asking anything. I'm fortunate that I came to know this quickly, because you can see many seekers there. They're trapped in this kind of mentality. Oh, I'm not getting anything from this, and even I need to spend my money, and even I need to work for it. I don't have time for this. That means that, well, that individual mind has not matured enough. So take inspiration from those who have done this thing, the Vivekanands and Raman Maharshis and Nisargdutts and many, countless people, Lahiris, Yoganands, so many. And usually they don't even have a name. They don't even want anybody to know them. They are totally invisible. They do not produce any kind of waves in this world. They have one job. They know these potentials are there. The individual minds, they have some potential, and they simply take them one notch up and then they disappear. That is their job. Those who are traveling in planes, those who are, a fleet of cars behind them, and those who declare themselves as gods and whatnot, they are all fakes. They have fallen. Probably they knew things, but then they fell. And you can see what is the what is the consequence of that. Your job is behind the curtains. That's all. Don't have a name. Don't have an address. Don't ask anything. Just pick somebody who wants to know and give him. Giving. That's all is the duty of this individual. First liberate yourself, then liberate others. There's nothing else to do. Everything that happens is a kind of amusement, is play, learning experiences. That's all it is. So if there are no more questions, it's 2 o'clock now, and we'll stop here. If there are, you need to do kind of manan, thinking, meditation upon what has been said. This is not coming from books. This is the direct teaching of the great enlightened people. So thank you very much for joining today's session. Hope the voice was clear, and I hope you will think about this for the whole week. And if you have more questions, more doubts, you want to know something more in this amazing world of spirituality, you can write them down, ask them in the next session.
Pure experiences.
You were listening to Pure Experiences by Tharun Pradhan.